Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, buenos dias, bonjour, bom dia a todas e a todos, a todes. It's great to see you all again here. Uh, Here we begin the third session of our online peer learning, which is this 2-day online peer learning that continue the process of our uh, peer learning that began in Brazil. So before we start, just some technical notes here. There will be interpretation available in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. If you can, please change your name on display to include your organization. That's easy for the others to identify who you are, to exchange with you on the chats. And please, of course, mute your microphone when you're not speaking. And whenever you want, like, feel free to raise your virtual hand, and please comment and feel free to write your questions in the chat. It's always richer if we have like intense participation of everyone. As we are talking about participation, it's great to have your participation on the chat with questions, with remarks, with references. And the last detail is that the session will be recorded for internal purposes, but also to allow other interested people that are not here today that could see the session afterwards. So I'll pass the floor to our colleague Juan Carlos, that will introduce a little bit, that will try to make a summary of the last sessions and present the objectives of today's sessions. Please, my dear friend Juan Carlos, up to you.
Muchas gracias, Fernando, y buenos días, buenas tardes a todos y todos. Bueno, para los que nos acompañaron ayer, un gusto tenerlos de vuelta o esta mañana. Y para los que no, voy a como que dar una breve descripción de lo que hemos hecho en estos 2 días. Ayer nos reunimos por la tarde a esta misma hora con varios participantes de Brasil y de otras partes de las Américas y de Europa, comentando un poco las discusiones que se tuvieron la semana pasada la, durante el Congreso del Observatorio Internacional de Participación Democrática, donde se presentaron diferentes prácticas de varias ciudades, incluyendo Rennes, Francia, que fue una de las ganadoras de buenas prácticas en el Congreso. También se presentó una guía que ha sido publicada por el Mayor's Mechanism, mecanismo de alcaldes del Foro Global de Migración y Desarrollo, que es quien organiza también este aprendizaje entre pares, sobre la participación y la integración de la juventud en estos procesos. Y también se comentó sobre una nueva red de ciudades acogedoras que fue lanzada en Brasilia la semana pasada, y se intercambiaron diferentes experiencias sobre lo que esta cooperación entre ciudades y también con el nivel nacional eh, pues significa, cómo funciona y qué beneficios puede tener tanto para los gobiernos locales como para las políticas del gobierno nacional en el Brasil. Después de esto tuvimos un ejercicio que pues algunos de los que estuvieron involucrados recordarán, donde pensamos un poco qué quiere decir la participación, qué quiere decir la discriminación para una persona migrante o refugiada. Y esto lo hicimos a través de diferentes historias que creamos en grupos, identificando algunos de los desafíos, necesidades que diferentes personas enfrentan cuando están viviendo en una ciudad nueva o están en tránsito. Entonces, esta fue la sesión de ayer, una sesión bastante introductoria para entender qué es lo que discutimos. Y esta mañana lo que hicimos fue entrar a las prácticas locales de ciudades concretas. Tuvimos una sesión muy pequeña, muy íntima, pero súper provechosa, en las que estuvimos viendo prácticas de la ciudad de Tarrasa, en Cataluña, España, la ciudad de Mechelen, creo que es que se pronuncia, en Bélgica, un proyecto que escucharemos también en la sesión de esta tarde, y la ciudad de Nador, en Marruecos. Dos de ellos bastante basados en la participación de estudiantes y la no discriminación de estudiantes o nuevas generaciones de migrantes, ya sea a nivel de la no discriminación, de trabajar con el profesorado, para que pudieran tener herramientas con las cuales pueden integrar mejor a esa población migrante, o sistemas y procesos para escuchar nuevas narrativas y nuevos problemas que estas poblaciones enfrentan, y traerlas a procesos de políticas públicas. O en el caso de Marruecos, crear un espacio donde diferentes culturas, diferentes migrantes pueden mostrar pues sus iniciativas, sus culturas, y a través de eso crear una comprensión, cohesión social e integración de estas comunidades. Para esta tarde tenemos bastantes prácticas locales. Hemos recibido, bueno, 6 que habíamos sido confirmadas, y algunas adicionales que si tenemos tiempo nos gustaría introducir. Pero viendo que tenemos bastantes personas, quiero hacer un ejercicio de Mentimeter para entender un poco más quién está en la sala. Entonces voy a buscar mientras tanto, mientras comparto mi pantalla, voy a compartir aquí. Ah, no, no, no hay nadie en sala de espera ya. Tengo que enviarles a todos ustedes. Y voy a cambiar de idioma a inglés, porque la presentación está en inglés y se me va a hacer más fácil hacerlo. So I will be sharing my screen in a little bit, because my computer is quite slow today. But will be an interactive exercise that you can join either through your computer, your phone, or through your computer. So if you're using your phone, please go to menti.com. And if you don't have a computer at hand, and use the code that you see in the chat, 79407733, to access the consultation. Or you can also just click directly on the link that's in the chat. Okay, should work now. So please, the first question is to understand better where you're coming from. So which of the following affiliations best describe your role, or where you're coming from? And again, you can go to menti.com and use this code that you see in the screen to access the consultation. So we want to know whether you are coming from a city, whether you're a policymaker or city officer, from a city network, from an international organization or a UN agency, from an NGO or local community organization, or from academia, research world, or from some other kind of institution. Okay, we have 15 people so far, and I think we have around 20 in the room. So let's wait a bit more. Okay, no, but it's very good to see that. Well, we are mostly welcoming city officers, representatives from cities, as this is a peer learning. So the idea is to exchange between cities from your practices that you learn from each other. And as you will see, the idea is not only to learn from the practices that are going to be presented, but also each of you can then ask questions to your colleagues and get their feedback on specific challenges or or you know issues that you're facing in your community. But we also have different colleagues who are going to give different perspective to these discussions, including city networks, UN agencies or international organizations, the academic world, and also from different civil society, organized civil society, or also migrant representative. We have invited some representative from the youth migrant group that have been working with UCLG and with the mayor's mechanism throughout this process. So let's go now to the next question. And here, also kind of building from yesterday, the idea is to think of, when we think of discrimination, what do we refer to? And what is it that cities do in these terms? So you will see different options here, and you can choose as many as you want. And let us know which of the following actions is your city or organization working on to tackle discrimination, whatever it is that you understand for discrimination. I'm gonna read them because we didn't have space to translate them in the Mentimeter. So the first one is anti-discrimination policies or legislation. The second one is cultural sensitivity or diversity training for public employees. The third one is supporting community-based integration programs. The fourth one is intercultural dialogues or awareness raising campaigns. The fifth one is language and vocational training for migrants and refugees. The sixth one is promoting economic opportunities for this population. And the last one is others that we haven't covered here. So I see, well, we have for most of them different cities working on them, and many of the practices that we will see today will be based on different of these aspects on discrimination. But let me try to see if anyone who has answer other would take the floor for 1 minute and share what kind of other activity is your city doing. You can raise your virtual hand and I'll give you the floor. Anyone who has had some other type of action from a local or regional government. Do I have anyone who wants to share? If not, I'm sure it will come up during all the discussions we will be having. Okay. We will break the ice later then. We're just warming up for you to get engaged in the peer learning today. So let's go now to the next question, and this one is on participation. So what kind of actions do you see your city doing to facilitate the political participation of migrants and refugees? So the first option here is collaborating with different advocacy groups to define different policies. The second was creating dedicated advisory councils or committees or policy labs to discuss and bring migrant voices. The third one is organizing meetings for political engagement. The fourth one is promoting voter registration and civic education programs. The fifth one is combating voter suppression and discrimination. And the sixth one is advocating for residency-based participation in local elections, where this is still not a reality. I think this is very much a contextual discussion, depending on the legal framework of each country. But we can see anything from discussing spaces, creating different spaces for policy discussion with this population, but also creating spaces for them to engage more actively in those spaces. I see that Abel, would you like to share something? So please go ahead.
Actually, I just would like to ask who voted for advocating for residency-based participation in local elections. Like, I would like to know how it's going and where, like, how you're planning for it. Here in Rio, we had a try in 2014 maybe, or something, or 12. I can't remember really, but it got really low uh, positive votes. So I think maybe I was talking to our lawyer, and maybe next year would be a good year to try again. But I would like to know from other experience. So
No, that's a great question. I don't know if there's anyone who wants to comment on this. I know that one of the practices, for example, that we're gonna see from Buenos Aires, it's well not so much on the advocacy of it, but kind of the implementation of residency-based participation in local elections. As I believe in most countries, uh, you need the national legal framework to do it. But I think it would be very interesting to bring this question that you raised after hearing from Buenos Aires and see how does it work in Spain, for example. I think like in the morning we were discussing the difference between this point on in Spain and in Belgium and in Morocco. So let's definitely bring this back again. Javier, if you want to briefly comment on this, or I don't know if it's a different question.
Yes, good morning. Just to say something that is not in the presentation and maybe is a bit of a response to this question. We worked over 3 years to get a legislation that all the political parties were satisfied about the voting rights to migrant people, international migrant people. So we start with some reunions outside our legislatura, that is our Congress for Buenos Aires, but Argentina has something that not many countries has a very federal federal legislation about what every city can do about voting rights. So we can change almost everything about the people who can vote in local elections, and that's not very common, and that make us give us a big opportunity to do that kind of reforms. We don't have to pass National Congress or something else. But well, later I can talk a bit longer, and if you have more questions, respond.
Oh, and thank you very much, Javier. And it's good to have that clarification before we go into your presentation. I'm gonna go to the last question, which I will leave open because the idea is to bring back those challenges for the discussion at the end. And this is about, you know, what challenges does your city face when addressing discrimination or promoting migrant and refugee participation? We will be bringing this question from the different cities that are presenting. But if you are not presenting, or if you want to bring up a challenge or a question that you want feedback from others on, please put them in here. And we will go back to this slide at the end of the session. So I would let you do that in your phones, and we can go back to this later on. But with that really good introduction and already having breaking the ice, thank you for for those comments. I will pass the floor to Fatima, who is going to guide us through the first few presentations today.
Thank you so much, Juanca, and thank you so much to the colleagues that already put on the table a lot of interesting topics that we will be discussing today, but that I'm sure we will keep together as a community, reflecting on and sharing with each other. So for those who don't know me, I am Fatima Fernandez, and I work on the migration team with Prachi, and I will so I have a difficult task today because we have 3 presentations that are scheduled, 3 practice presentations. So I will try to be as accurate as possible with timings. I would ask you very kindly to keep them to 8 minutes, because the idea is to allow time both for reactions from the floor on your own presentations, questions, and so on. Also for a question from you to the rest of your colleagues about a challenge you're facing. And also we have a set of other presentations that arrived a bit late, so but we will still want to hear a little bit about. So let's get started with those premises in mind. So I will start calling Lara Parizzotto from Hounslow City Council in the UK, who I understand you don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but perhaps you have a website you want to share with us. But in any case, the floor is yours, and you have 8 minutes to share with us your city practice. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And eu sou do Brasil também, as I'm from Brazil, but I guess I'll be speaking in English because that's what I'm most comfortable in when talking about this campaign. My name is Lara. I am both a councillor, so for Brazilians, like a vereadora level, in Hounslow, London Borough of Hounslow, and I'm also the co-director of Migrant Democracy Project. And I will post the link to our website here, and there's a new briefing paper that we have launched just last month. And overall, in each capacity that I have, we care a lot about bringing migrants to the political sphere, to democracy. The UK government at the moment, without being too partisan, there are a lot of hostile environment policies that are negatively affecting migrants in the UK. Recently, for example, the visa fees have just gone up, which are making it really difficult for migrants in the UK to continue working and studying. But whichever policy you take into account, the biggest problem is that there are about 10 million migrants in the UK, and a lot of them don't have that power to vote. Therefore, policies that are currently enacted are usually done against the interests of migrants, or at best, simply ignoring migrants' interests, because they're not actually counted by politicians. We want to change that. I want to be able to have migrants actually using that vote when talking to politicians and saying, if you don't implement this policy that will be for my benefit and the benefit of my community, I will no longer vote for you, or vice versa, reward them with that vote and saying, you've stood up for the rights of migrants. We want to thank you by keeping you in power or electing you. Unfortunately, over 1 million people currently in England and Northern Ireland have no right to vote at all, not even in the local elections, which is the one that I am an elected representative in. So even deciding on things like how the bins are collected, or how many parks are in the area, or housing, of course, being a very important one. And then when we're talking about general elections, the number is much, much higher, with over 5 million people not having the right to vote. But the UK has a complicated system of voter eligibility, where some migrants already do have the right to vote. So if you are a Commonwealth migrant in the UK, such as from India, from Canada, from Bangladesh, Australia, you do have full voting rights. You can be a student and you can vote for your member of parliament. Commonwealth citizens also had the ability to vote for the Brexit referendum. Whereas if you are, for example, an EU citizen, you only have the right to vote in local elections. So the ones that I am an elected representative at, but you don't have that power for example, deciding your future in the country when the Brexit referendum happened. But even worse than that, we have, as I said, the non-EU, non-Commonwealth residents from places such as Brazil, all of Latin America, the US, currently a lot of Ukrainian refugees in the UK having no right to vote at all. And as much as people like myself and other pro-migrant politicians can do our best to encourage them to participate, for example, by filling in consultations and attending council surgeries, like drop-in sessions where they can talk to their politicians, writing, campaigning, going on a protest, going on a march, that right to vote is still super vital, it's still super important, and that's what we are aiming for. Similar to some other countries, the UK, given its interesting makeup, Scotland and Wales have had the power to extend the right to vote to every resident. So if you are, for example, someone from Ecuador in Wales, you can vote in every election. However, if that same resident moves to London, they don't have that right to vote. But unfortunately, that's only a devolved power to the devolved assemblies of Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. For individual cities to change this, they don't have that power. It's only at national parliament level that the right to vote could be changed to everyone, to every resident. And that's what we're currently focusing on. We're trying to get as many members of parliament as possible agreeing to extend the right to vote. So I spend a lot of time, lobbying, going on meetings with members of parliament, getting residents who don't have the right to vote to write to their representatives, talking about why having that vote matters to them, and explaining that it's not something completely unrealistic. It exists in other countries. We've heard here from that in Argentina, like some cities have the power to make that happen. Many countries across Europe have extended the right to vote, at least in local elections. New Zealand is the best perfect example of having extended the right to vote in general elections as well for all residents. But how do we get there? So that's where I bring back the local authorities, even though they don't have the right to change the legislation and enfranchise all of their residents, they have symbolic power. So we have had 6 local authorities proposing our motion symbolically to say that they do want to see all of their residents having the right to vote. So, for example, the London Borough of Brent, the London Borough of Newham, which are individual local authorities within London, have passed a motion saying, as a local authority, we believe that all our residents, no matter where they're from, should have that right to vote. And they're speaking on behalf of all of their residents, which in many local authorities like mine is of 300,000 people. So with that, we then go back to the government of the day, the political parties, to say, even though the local authority has not been given the power to change the eligibility, they're telling you that they do want to see all their residents having the right to vote. And this, of course, then enables a lot of the residents of that local area who don't have the right to vote to feel empowered that there are representatives standing up for their right to vote. I think I am running out of time.
You are, but you have like 1 minute.
That's great. So, but to finalize is just that even though here in the UK, these local authorities don't have the power to change, there's a lot that symbolically they can do, such as, for example, passing the motion, but also, as I said, direct action of those residents that do have the right to vote, doing voter registration sessions, voter registration drives. When I was campaigning for my election, when I was standing, I sent letters to all of the EU citizens in my ward saying, even though Brexit has happened, don't forget that you still have the right to vote. So that felt like a personalized approach, reminding them that they were still welcome, that there was someone that was interested in their participation. So I spend a lot of time as well going to, for example, cultural festivals. Like Diwali just happened, so we went to some festivals and talked about the right to vote. So as I said, it's always trying to find ways to encourage our communities to participate one way or another, even if they don't have full voting rights. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lara, and thanks a lot for keeping to the time. And indeed, I will suggest, colleagues, so for the next time, what I will do so that it's not, because it's so difficult to interrupt so interesting conversations. So whenever you see this in my this clock in my screen, you will know that you have 1 minute left. Let's see if this works, and we will pilot this new methodology with our colleague from Buenos Aires. So I am happy to welcome Javier Tejerito, who is Director General de Reforma Política y Electoral de Buenos Aires. The floor is yours. You have 8 minutes, 7 until you see the clock.
Bueno, hablo en español, ¿está bien? Perfecto. Teníamos una presentación, no sé si eso lo manejo yo, lo manejan ustedes.
Si quieres, podemos darte la capacidad de compartir la presentación tú mismo.
Perdón, yo soy Mercedes Barbara, directora de colectividades de la Ciudad de Buenos Aires. Mientras ponen la presentación, quería hacer una breve introducción de por qué para nosotros esto era tan importante de poder contar como práctica. En la Ciudad de Buenos Aires viene trabajando hace muchos años en políticas de integración para las personas migrantes, con una perspectiva de acceso a derechos, en salud, en educación, en derechos políticos. Y la clave de nuestro trabajo en el último tiempo tiene que ver con transversalizar estas políticas y que puedan no solamente ser abordadas desde el área de colectividades específicamente, sino que puedan ser abordadas desde las distintas áreas del gobierno de la Ciudad de Buenos Aires. Y allí es donde el trabajo en conjunto con Javier y con todo el equipo que llevó adelante esta reforma tan importante es que se volvió vital. La Ciudad de Buenos Aires, Javier ahora lo va a contar, pero tiene más de un 13% de población migrante, y esto hace, como decía Lara, por un lado, claramente con la importancia de que las personas migrantes puedan elegir sus representantes y aquellas personas que van a tomar decisiones en la ciudad donde están viviendo, pero también, y quiero reforzar esto que dijo Lara, poner a las personas migrantes como actores dentro del mapa político de los funcionarios y de los partidos políticos. Que se conviertan en sujetos no solo beneficiarios de la política pública, sino que también puedan tener una incidencia política y que obligue a aquellas personas que están diseñando las políticas, pero que también tienen intereses partidarios, que pongan un foco de atención en la escucha y en el tomar las propuestas de las personas migrantes. Si ya no es como interés propio de la política en cuanto a la migración, por lo menos que sí tengan que escuchar a un porcentaje tan importante de personas que viven, que habitan y que construyen las ciudades. Y dicho esto, como breve introducción, le paso la palabra a mi colega Javier, que estuvo trabajando muy fuertemente en este proyecto.
Gracias, Mercedes. Buenos días. Voy a compartir después un link también de cómo hicimos para aprobar la modificación de la ley, porque veo que eso también va a ser interesante. Tenemos registrado en una revista cómo fue el paso a paso. Breves antecedentes, la ciudad tiene una... La Argentina, como les contaba, es un país federal y tiene la particularidad de que deja a los estados subnacionales, que acá llamamos provincias, e incluso a los municipios, hacer modificaciones de la normativa electoral, permitiendo el derecho al voto, dependiendo de cada uno de esos niveles, puede tomar esa decisión. Entonces, la Ciudad de Buenos Aires ya incluso desde antes de su autonomía tenía habilitado el derecho al voto de los migrantes, y en su constitución de 1996, perdón, ahí hay un error de tipeo, no es 1966, ya se incluía que debía avanzarse una ley para permitir el derecho a voto de las personas migrantes internacionales. La realidad es que se sacó una ley parcial, pero no se avanzó en una legislación profunda en la ciudad, y ese fue el desafío con el que asumimos en 2016 desde el gobierno de la ciudad, de tratar de generar los consensos para lograr esa ley, una ley electoral más amplia, pero donde se incluyera también un capítulo en relación al voto de los migrantes internacionales. Como le digo, hoy no voy a hacer tanto hincapié en el proceso de cómo se aprobó la ley, pero les voy a dejar un link para que puedan leerlo y obviamente que quedo a disposición para cualquier tipo de consulta que venga posterior. Ya la ley aprobada en 2018 se nos hace este desafío. Con la legislación previa era muy engorroso para los migrantes, era muy difícil poder registrarse. Entonces los niveles de registro que teníamos eran muy pocos. Desde 2000 a 2019, como verán, eran menos de 21.000 personas, y con la modificación de la ley pasamos a habilitar a casi todos y todas las migrantes que vivían en la ciudad de Buenos Aires. Pueden ver el salto de la gráfica, pasamos a casi 500.000 personas con derecho al voto, 500.000 migrantes internacionales que pasan a tener derecho al voto. Entonces el desafío que comenzamos a tener es inverso. No era tanto por el derecho, sino para informarles y ahora que participen, porque el derecho ya lo tenían. Y ese es el trabajo que hemos estado haciendo los últimos 4 años en conjunto con Mercedes. El primer año que se aplica, en 2021, lo que hicimos, nos toca en una época encima post-pandemia, para sumar desafíos. Como si no fuera poco que se sumaban 500.000 personas con el derecho, además estábamos saliendo de una pandemia que en Argentina fue muy estricta en cuanto a niveles de circulación. Se trabajó toda la parte de la campaña de manera previa con distintas herramientas virtuales y apenas se pudieron abrir, digamos, los espacios de intercambio común, se comenzaron con distintas prácticas territoriales. La mayoría están relacionadas con trabajo que ya vienen haciendo colectividades históricamente, que es festivales, reuniones con las colectividades. Nosotros acá tenemos un calendario donde cada semana se festeja una colectividad y eso nos permite tener un acercamiento muchísimo más puntual con cada una de las colectividades, comenzar a traducir los materiales al portugués, al guaraní. Nosotros tenemos muchos países limítrofes que son los que en general terminan siendo los que tienen mayor impacto en la población de la ciudad, y que no necesariamente, si bien tienen como lengua oficial español, también tienen como prácticas bastante habituales utilizar otros idiomas más relacionadas con la población indígena que vivía en el lugar, como es el caso del guaraní, el aymara o el quechua. Entonces también trabajar en la traducción de esos materiales y también en generar, digamos, piezas audiovisuales en esas traducciones, porque no necesariamente lo saben leer al idioma, lo saben hablar, lo saben escuchar, lo heredan por una cuestión más cultural y no necesariamente lo aprenden en una escuela. Entonces era muy importante comenzar a trabajar con esa dualidad. Ese trabajo nos permitió en el primer año llegar a aumentar la participación, como verán, de 10.000 personas a casi 70.000, y este año que tuvimos unas elecciones generales, logramos que más de 100.000 migrantes votaran en la elección. Y esto también pasando un mensaje sobre la relevancia de ese voto. 100.000 personas votando en la ciudad implican casi el valor de 2 bancas de la legislatura, o sea, tienen una incidencia directa en la representación. Entonces es muy importante a tener en cuenta que no solo se está dando el derecho a votar, sino que ya tienen una incidencia directa en distintos procesos electorales específicos. Perdón, porque creo que agarré una presentación vieja, les quería mostrar un mapa, pero bueno, no importa. Después la compartiré ahí con el equipo para que se las hagan llegar. La ciudad tiene además subdivisiones internas. Tenemos comunas donde casi el 25% de la población es extranjera. Entonces ahí también tiene incidencia directa sobre la selección de quienes dirigen esas comunas, y esperamos que a lo largo del tiempo el porcentaje de participación de la población migrante se comience a acercar al porcentaje de participación de la población local. En la Argentina el voto es obligatorio, más o menos el 70% de la población vota en cada elección, y los migrantes en estas elecciones han llegado más o menos al 20%. Nuestro desafío, nuestro trabajo, entendemos que mucho tiene que ver con que hay muchas personas que todavía no están al tanto de cuál es este nuevo derecho, pero nuestro desafío, nuestro trabajo con colectividades, que es permanente, es avanzar hacia que cada vez más personas conozcan ese derecho. Y es interesante porque la política pública de capacitación hacia los migrantes, también cuando hicimos la modificación legal la volvimos ley. O sea, pasó de ser simplemente, digamos, una política que estaba llevada adelante por un gobierno en particular, que ya desde 2016 que teníamos el programa de capacitación, a ser una política pública que va a sobrevivir a los distintos gobiernos. Y eso es muy importante también. O sea, si van a hacer una modificación de la ley para permitir el voto de los migrantes, y de cualquier otra población, porque en la Argentina también se ha permitido el voto joven, o se han incluido distintas prácticas de participación ciudadana. Es importante que esa práctica en la legislación esté acompañada por algún programa o instancia de capacitación. Porque si nosotros sacamos una ley y permitimos que los migrantes voten, pero no hay ninguna herramienta para informarle que tienen este derecho, es poco probable que participen, porque siguen teniendo a veces mucha vinculación con su país de origen, y tal vez votan en las elecciones de su país de origen si les permiten votar desde el exterior. O es poco probable que se enteren a través de las charlas diarias de que tienen este derecho, que se ha legislado este derecho, porque no es, digamos, información tal vez de conversación común entre sus pares.
Javier,
Entonces,
te voy
sí.
a pedir que vayas concluyendo.
Sí, termino con esto. Es la recomendación que les digo es la cuestión, pensando en esta política que tienen de querer avanzar hacia el derecho de voto de los migrantes, es importante que ese derecho lo acompañen con herramientas y políticas públicas de capacitación e de información. Si se olvidan de poner eso en la legislación, lo que les puede pasar, como ha pasado en otras provincias de Argentina, o como nos pasaba en la ciudad hasta que hicimos la modificación, es que tengan buena voluntad para que los migrantes participen, pero no tengan las herramientas ni la política pública para que se enteren de que tienen ese derecho. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias a ti, Javier. Y dos cosas. Te voy a pedir, os voy a pedir a los dos colegas de Buenos Aires, gracias a ti, Mercedes, también, que compartáis con nosotros una pregunta que tengáis para el resto del grupo. No tiene que ser ahora, también lo podéis escribir en el chat porque la discutiremos después. Y a los demás participantes, por supuesto, que os vayáis apuntando las preguntas que queráis hacer, tanto a ellos como a Lara y a la siguiente presentación para la discusión abierta. Y siempre en el interés de dejar el mayor tiempo posible para esa discusión, voy a dar paso ya a la siguiente práctica. I'll switch to English. So the next practice will be presented by Margherita Gambi, who is project assistant and at the Special Projects and Initiatives Department of the International Institute of Humanitarian Law, and it's about the Master project. For those who have been already in the peer learning activity in the morning, you have heard the experience of a city that participates in the project. Now we have this other complementary perspective that will definitely be of interest. So Margarita, thank you for joining us. I guess you will be sharing the presentation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm authorized to do so, I will. Thank you, Fatima, and thank you to all the UCLG staff for inviting me and other representatives of this project. And okay, here is my screen. So I don't know how many of you already heard about it this morning, but I will make a general introduction because as Fatima said, I work for the International Institute of Humanitarian Law, which is a partner in this project. We are not a local government, but this project is being implemented in 6 municipalities in 6 European countries. So I will give you a general perspective on all the experiences, and in particular about the methodology that the Institute is in charge of. So MasterLab is a European project founded by the AMIF program, and it stands for Multi-Stakeholders Labs for Migrants and Stakeholders. It is a project about migrants' political participation. So it doesn't target specifically discrimination, but it works on social and political integration strategies, and it works on co-designing them with the final users. And like I will show you in the next slide, if I'm able to. Yes, each city chose its own policy challenges. So our objective was to bring policymakers and local administrations together with migrants and other stakeholders, being them citizens, NGOs, employers, health services, and any other kind of stakeholders that would have been interested in engaging in this participatory process, to build together integration local strategies to improve the most critical sites of integration in these cities. And this project starts from the principle that even if migration policies are mainly decided on a national level, the local contexts are the ones that can be more incisive in actual integration and inclusion of people with a migrant background or newly arrived migrants. So as you can see, the cities that we involved are Fuenlabrada in Spain, that has a long experience in youth political participation. So they are currently working on creating a city parliament of youth and to integrating it permanently in their policymaking process. Grenoble Alpes Métropole joined the consortium later in our journey, but it decided to focus on employment and housing. Mechelen in Belgium is also the coordinating partner of this project and is working on the sense of belonging of children in school. Modena in Italy is working on employment, volunteering, and sports as a means of integration. Livadia in Greece started wanting to improve the health, employment, and education services. But I will tell you later that some of these challenges, of course, changed along the project, the project and the process. And Vienna wanted to create a more a wider and more shared culture for human rights and political participation. So these policy challenges were defined in a first stage of the project. The project is currently ongoing. We are approaching the end of our second year. And these challenges were defined both with a general consultation with migrants and stakeholders through a preliminary workshop, and both through a state-of-the-art research in each city, and based also on their previous experiences in political participation and migrant integration. Each of these cities already had the previous projects and experiences in this field. So what are the policy labs and what is our aim in this project? What we want to do is to create a permanent system, process of consultation, political consultation regarding integration strategies and the improvement of the local policies and strategies and practices for migrants integration. So what we are currently doing is experimenting the policy lab methodology, but the final aim of our project is that the policy labs become permanent in these 6 cities. Like I said, the city of Mechelen is the project coordinator, and another element, a positive element of this project is that the local administration is the first promoter of the consultation of migrants and citizens and organizations. So we expect really good results for this reason, because we already have policymakers and public servants that are interested and open to listen to the voice of the final users. The policy labs work on the basis of the principles that you can see in this small infographics. So we apply system thinking and design thinking in the labs, which concretely are gatherings of these groups of stakeholders together with policymakers and the local administration to discuss together the actions to take. So the policy labs consist of 3 meetings. At least 3 meetings are foreseen in our project. The first one is aimed at redefining the policy challenges together with the final users. Then the second policy lab is aimed at drafting proposals to answer to the needs of the migrant population. And third, the third policy lab will draft policy recommendations for the local administration to integrate in their regulations. So actually, we cannot present our outcomes yet because, like I said, the project is still ongoing, but there is an element that I think it's really important in this project. And it's also the phase of the project we are currently in. So I would like to talk a little bit more about micro experiments. Like I said, there are 3 policy labs. Yes.
I will ask you to speak about it very shortly because you're also running out of time. But
okay, perfect. I'm almost finished. So the policy recommendations that we will draft, we are supported by 3/4 months, depending on the city, of experimenting the proposals drafted in the second policy lab. So these initiatives have been tested in each of the cities, and thanks to the results and the evaluation criteria, we were able to see if they were feasible budget-wise, resources-wise. We were able to find success factor and what didn't work very well. So these policy recommendations are supported by the results of the micro-experimentations. And we are currently in the phase for these 6 cities to have their third policy lab. So they are currently writing the policy recommendations that will later be submitted to the local government. Lessons learned, like I said, it's a little bit early. The project is still ongoing, but there are some things that we have been working on, which is the engagement of migrants and stakeholders, which required some specific strategies, the communication, which of course could have been more effective in some other ways. So if you want to deepen these things, of course, you can write some questions in the chat or contact me. I will leave you my email. And also something that we're currently working on to try to do it at our best is a strategy for the replicability of the Master Lab project. So to involve more European and not European cities to try the policy lab approach and to integrate it in their political process, because we truly believe in the bottom-up approach to policies and to the user orientation. So thank you. I will end my presentation here.
Thanks a lot to you, Margherita. And
I will be happy.
Some of the questions that come to you are also done in this floor so that we all learn from them beyond what, of course, can be followed up with later. So thanking you, the 3 of you, for the effort you've put not only in sharing your presentation, but also in keep mindful of the time. I would now open the floor for the rest of participants and for the presenters to other presenters to share your questions about the practices we've seen from Hounslow, from Buenos Aires, and from the Master Lab project. And in the meantime, I will invite you, Margarita, also to think of your question to the group and to share it there for that second round of the discussion. So I am hopeful I will start to see some virtual hands raised, and I'll start to give the floor to the brave ones that want to ask something to the colleagues. Don't let me alone, please. Adel, muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thanks so much for sharing this experience. It's great experience. I was just thinking about how we could here in Brazil.
Adel, can you introduce yourself?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm Adel Bakur. I'm Syrian and Brazilian today. Now I live in Rio de Janeiro, and I'm the coordinator of CRAI Rio, is a reference center for migrants in the city of Rio de Janeiro. I live for more than 10 years now here in Brazil. So I was thinking, and I want also to ask, like in the UK, and we saw that there are migrants in they got in elections, and then they got to be a part of the government. And I noticed that here in Rio, actually, at least in Brazil, we don't have and migrants in the elections. And like, for example, I can ask for right. I have the right to be, but we don't have this movement. So I think my question is, like, what kind of maybe social work or social information that we can give to our migrants and refugees, to them, to get to know more about these rights and the importance of this rights. So I don't know if you guys like have some projects about it or thoughts. We have here in Rio some spaces, some political spaces that migrants and social organizations that participate, but it's never going to the next level. Like we're not discussing how we can get this population into elections and to be elected, actually, not just to vote. But I'm thinking, as Lara was talking, I thought, like, okay, maybe we first need to get to elect migrants first as Brazilians, and then we can discuss maybe this politics. So I want to hear from you guys about this.
Thanks, Adel. I don't know if there are other questions that are related to this one, or if we let Lara directly respond, assuming that there is a response coming from her end. Lara, go ahead if you
want. Thank you. Adel, gostaria que eu falasse em português ou inglês?
Tanto faz.
Okay. Well, so I'll go English. In here in the UK, as far as we know, I am the only Brazilian councillor. And that's, I mean, on one hand, we can celebrate that, but on another hand, it's really sad because there are like 300,000 Brazilians in the UK. And now that I got elected, they come to me like, can you do this? Can you do that? And the reality is that often that my answer is no, because I am a councillor in Hounslow. And if they live in Bristol, Liverpool, I don't have much power to help them. So we believe that we need more migrants elected. And we see that democratic participation as a journey. So, level 1 is voting, becoming an active campaigner, activist, all the way to getting elected as well. But it's not just the Brazilian community, like Latin Americans are underrepresented in UK politics. Eastern Europeans are also underrepresented in UK politics. And again, that shapes the policies, the politics that we have. So one thing that we're doing is we have just launched a program called Empower, where we're going to be training 10 first-generation migrants to stand for election here in the UK as councillors. And hopefully these are people that are going to then, be prepared to take that next step to maybe stand for parliament in the future. And I think that comes with the main need there is information, is understanding how to get selected for a political party or how to stand as an independent. Of course, the system in Brazil will be entirely different on how you stand as a vereador or deputado, so on and so forth. But I think that level of information is where a lot of migrants don't really know much about, because they are just like when I came to the UK, I only knew the Brazilian system. So I had to learn about how to stand in elections here, like that we have a prime minister here that's not elected directly, that we have like in Brazil where we have a president. So that level of information, I think, is where we need to start. And if organizations like yours already have link to migrants locally that are doing local work and activism, maybe they are the ones that can be going through a training, a workshop program on how to stand and how to get elected.
Thank you so much, Lara, and you two brought indeed a very relevant point that came up, like coming back to the conversations that we had in Brazil, both in Rio and Brasilia, which is like the need expressed both from migrant communities, but also in some city councils to go beyond that idea of consultative bodies, committees, and so on and so forth, because they don't have a very concrete impact, and then the issue of representativity continue to appear in terms of real local democracy, right? And so the right to participate meaningfully and also to represent communities. So thank you for that. I also see a question from Alinor, also to Lara, asking if there's any African country that migrants vote or elect or take parts during campaigns. Perhaps, Ali, you want to take the floor and provide a little bit more context to your question?
Yeah, I didn't understand if it was a question about African countries that allow residents to vote or migrants from African countries in the UK who can vote.
Yeah, I would guess it's the second one. Okay, no, it's the first one.
Okay. As far as I know, Malawi has a system of residence-based voting rights. So that's one. I'll put I'm sending a link to our briefing paper that has a link to all of the countries that, not all of the countries, but countries that have residence-based voting rights. But unfortunately, not many in Africa.
Thank you. Any further questions from the floor to the colleagues that presented? So then, if there are not, and we are all shy about this, and we would continue with you, Lara, perhaps if you want to share a little bit more background to your question to the group about how to encourage migrants to get engaged in campaigns. So just a little bit more of a framing so that colleagues can also share some insights from their own realities.
So I will leave the question with you and then I'll have to go, unfortunately. But the one key theme that we want is to get migrants to participate themselves, not just for us to be speaking for them or acting for them. But when we try to get, not always, but a lot, it happens quite often when migrants say to us, oh, I don't want to campaign, I don't want to be like tweeting or posting on my stories that I am a campaigner, because they fear that the government will act against them. And like when I was applying for naturalization as a British citizen, I had a lot of Brazilians texting me saying like, oh my God, like stop going on a protest, stop going on a march. The government is not going to give you the citizenship. So a lot of people have internalized this fear that, you know, because we are migrants, we can't campaign, we can't be active, we can't speak out. And I understand why people have internalized this anxiety when the government does often say that to migrants. But I guess, you know, we try to show the legal context of, you know, you still have the right to civil participation, but there's still a lot of like trying to convince people that even though this is their secondary home, it is still their home now, and they have that right to campaign. So it's a challenge. So if people have had tactics that work in getting people to get convinced that they can participate, I would love to hear more.
Thanks a lot, Lara, because I think that it's also very relevant in terms of that double side of the discrimination versus participation, because in a way you're being discriminated from the right to publicly campaigning. So what a relevant point. Adel, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like, I just remembered, I would like to share an experience that we had here in Rio also in 2019, that I was working in a research center, and we made the research between for migrants and refugees, and the last question was, would you like to vote? Would you like to have the right to vote as a migrant? And I interviewed a lot of Syrian, and the first instant answer was no, like just like in the same way that Clara was talking, like we don't want to get involved. This it's dangerous. So and since then I was just, I think about how a base work, a base education that we need to start like really from the bottom, maybe with migrant and refugees, to explain that the rights and they're affected directly from the politics in the country they live. So and as a Syrian, as I have really close relation with the Syrians, I do like a social work, and I invite them also to spaces that we can talk, and they get to understand now more about it. So, and even the ones who get the citizenship later, they don't care if they vote or not in the election, the Brazilian election. So, and like the last year, I spent a couple of months talking to them and convincing them that they need to vote, and it's important. It's really I think it's not a hard work, but maybe it's a long-term work and project to get. So I wanted to share this.
Thank you so much. I am just trying to check. So first of all, I wanted to just like Thank you, and thank Lara before you leave. Thank you really for what you have shared, and we hope to keep engaging you in further in the process. And now going to the colleagues from Buenos Aires and to Margarita, if you want to share a little bit of your questions to the group that can be discussed now or can be discussed later in case you're all shy about it now and we let the conversation flow, because the thing is also that we have also another pipeline of practices that didn't get in time, so we didn't manage to schedule them properly, but we still want them to be shared. So still, I would ask now the colleagues from Buenos Aires to give a little bit of background on your own question to the group. Let's see what reactions we get and how to move forward. Javier.
Gracias. Bueno, la pregunta es, ¿cuáles han sido las mejores herramientas que han encontrado para llevar información de forma directa a la población migrante internacional en sus distritos? En la ciudad, nuestro programa ha tenido dos estrategias. Una es la digital, que permite trabajar de manera más segmentada, particularmente a través de redes sociales. Es muy fácil identificar en redes sociales cuando una persona es extranjera, porque el propio algoritmo muestra que la mayoría de sus amigos no viven en el país de residencia, entonces permite que le mandemos mensajes de forma directa. Y después una estrategia territorial, que esa la trabajamos codo a codo con Mercedes y el área de colectividades, como le decía, a partir de distintos festivales, festividades, y las distintas acciones comunes que tiene el gobierno de la ciudad, no solo festividades, digamos, de migrantes, sino festividades generales. Pero quería conocer si han aplicado otras herramientas para llevar esa información más allá tal vez de estas dos grandes que les estoy contando.
Perdón, me gustaría agregar a lo que dice Javier como otra pata de este trabajo y que sí es fundamental, es el trabajo con las organizaciones de migrantes, con las organizaciones de la sociedad civil, como principales canalizadores de la información hacia las personas migrantes. Es una herramienta que también, o sea, es un canal que nosotros usamos mucho y que tiene que ver con la red construida con las organizaciones de personas migrantes y refugiadas, como otro punto. Pero comparto con Javier esta inquietud de saber en otros lugares cómo se hace ese trabajo también.
Muchas gracias. Ahí queda la pregunta. Y mientras no vea manos alzadas, I will take the opportunity to give the floor also to Margarita to share her question so that they remain here, all in the air, all on the table, and we can take them back whenever it fits in the conversation.
Okay, yeah. So I just I have a general question, and I'm not sure if it's possible to answer it through the experiences and practices that we share today, but it's a problem that we thought about while designing Master Lab, and so I wanted just to have a little bit of discussion here. And the question is, since in Italy, for sure, there are many people of migrant background who are on the territory and stay on the territory for a long time, but without any right to vote. If you have ever thought of some solutions for their active participation in your local context, through Master Lab, we tried to do this with policy labs because they do not require the citizenship status or any other kind of official status or document, and so we tried to engage them, making them speak directly to policy makers and administrations. But I wanted to know if this is a concern you addressed any other way, and if it's the right time, I would like to briefly answer Javier's question. For instance, in our project, many municipalities, Livadia in Greece, Modena in Italy, and also Grenoble Alpes Métropole had among their policy challenges also to want the migrants to be aware of their rights and of the services offered on the territory, and this is an issue that we share. I mean, it's sometimes difficult because maybe the network is among same country individuals, so there's not a lot of exchange with the locals, especially if you're new on the territory. Italy is a place of recently new migrations. So what we did was, for instance, to provide digital but also physical maps in many languages. So, for instance, of course, the majoritarian languages, not all the languages spoken by newcomers, but Arab, French, English, maybe somewhere even Bengali. And this was something we could do. And for instance, a city which is not in the consortium of Master Lab, but that I worked with in the past, which is Ravenna in Italy, designed a whole page on the website translated in many different languages, and of course there's also a communication campaign that must follow this kind of actions to let people know these informations exist and where to find them.
Thanks a lot, Margherita, and for sharing this. And also in general, I think that this section of the peer learning, we conclude with like I would say that the question in the air, and it was in the air already in the morning too, is about channels and effective mechanisms to really reach out to the populations that we want to participate, because sometimes it seems from what you're sharing with us that it's not about setting up mechanisms, spaces, platforms, services, and so on, but to have the right people using those, and not always like the usual suspects, or not always the people that perhaps don't need it as much, or not always in an effective way. I guess that this is a little bit of a shared concern in many different realities. So thanking you a lot for sharing these very rich perspectives, and of course inviting you to keep interacting in the chat about if you have ideas about what we have been discussing, just don't hesitate to share. We can pick up them to the floor, to the conversation. And I will now let the floor to my colleague Prachi, who will continue the practice session right away. Thank you.
Yes, colleagues. Hi, I am Prachi. I am the Human Mobility Project Officer, together with my colleague Fatima and our other colleagues from learning and research in our extended human mobility team now. And I invite the practice of Leah from Anvita. Leah is the coordinator of Anvita, which is the National Association of the Welcoming Territories, Welcoming French Territories. Over to you. And Leah, I think I can give you screen sharing.
Everyone has the right to share already, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Praki, for giving me the opportunity to share. How much time I have for the presentation?
You have 7 minutes, and I will give you 1 minute extra, whereby I'll call you out.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Anvita is a French network of cities and territories committed to unconditional welcome. There are like many levels of local authorities, and we are now about 82, 83 members of the network. And yeah, every year we publish like a tool, like a guidance for welcome, like how to be a welcoming territory in France. It helps to promote what French local authorities are doing, but also to do an advocacy work towards the government, the national government, but also abroad. So yeah, I'm in, well, the guide is actually currently being translated. So for now, it's only in French. I will share the link, but really soon we will have in English. And we have different approach. We decided, yeah, to collect all the practices we were able to witness on the territories, and decided to categorize in 3 pillars, we would say. Like, one is to promote another vision of migration. It's about the discourse, the representation, the fighting against fake news, etc., etc. One pillar about the right, access to right, which is fundamental, of course. And one about the participation of migrants and exiled people in general in the local policies, but also to advocate for hearing the voice of the exiled people on the national and international level. So yeah, this guide is a second edition, and we will work on the third next year. And for the yeah, there are many practices, but due to you invite me today, and last week we launched this project of Villeurbanne. I thought, well, we discussed it, and it was interesting to talk about this project, which is a long-term project, I would say. Many local authorities in France are interested to launch ID city card, like the example on New York City or other cities in the world. So Anvita in 2022, I would say, yeah, we were designed by our board of local authority to do like a benchmark to explore what's I've been doing in other countries, etc. Because France is a really centralized power country, so there are not really room for action for local authorities regarding the right to vote, the participation, etc., the regularization of people. So yeah, we did this benchmark in 2021, and then the city of Villeurbanne, which is a city like really near Lyon in the east part of France. So Lyon is the third main city of France. So Villeurbanne is really like close to Lyon, and they're working together in the field of migration, diversity, multiculturality, etc. And so they decided to be like I would say pilot territories, like innovative territories regarding this initiative, launching their own local ID card. So this is the visual of the card. So the main difficulties are the French framework, and just to be the French legal framework. And so to do this tool, it was to be outside, well, to be careful that it won't be like just a symbolic card, but really have a power. Of course, it's important to have a symbolism of the card, but also to have a really access to right, etc. So there are many challenges. Starting it came from that, and this slide is more explicative of what I just say. Like, it's a multicultural city, around 150,000 inhabitants, and yeah, that's it. It's mainly about the context. And so yeah, we Anvita as a network of city really do like a special support of the city of Villeurbanne to help them in the project. and it was there were like a direction of the solidarities in the city of Villeurbanne, who just leads the project with Anvita. And the idea was to have a card for everyone in the city. We started with like interviews, many interviews of exiled people, of association, of partners, etc., etc. Then there were like a report of this session, this time period, and then there were working group on special a topic, like for example, how to open a bank account, like stuff like that. And then there were like the experimentation starting last week, the 8th of November, during the event of Lyon. There were like a big event during 1 week about welcoming cities, and especially an European event on the 8th of November with cities of refugees in Europe, etc. So it was the opportunity to talk about the right to the city, about defending the right to participate for migrants, and to launch this ID card. So I just put some visual, but it's like internal documents, but yeah, it helps you to see how many people were involved in the project. And so, yeah, this is a picture of last week with the mayor of Villeurbanne, but also mayors from, not mayor, but represented from the city of Zagreb, of Lyon, of Utrecht, Zurich, etc., etc. And so it's like a first version. The idea is we have to put it like really concrete, like starting from here. It would be more symbolic, of course, but it also be there are some already some access to some rights with the card, and it will be like a version 2, version 3, etc., to be even more inclusive. And the idea is, the objective of the goal of the project is to be recognized as an anchor in the territories, in the French territories, not to replace the regularization in the title, but to help people to get regularized, documented.
1 minute, Leah.
Okay.
1 minute.
And principal learning, consultation and co-construction is really important to comply with the needs, and really important to communicate that from the beginning, like, we won't be able to do that. This is our framework, and we want to do that, and it won't be possible, etc. Because when you include undocumented people, of course, their own main priority is to get papers, of course. So it's really important to say, if you want to be in the process, it will be really great for us to be there, but you won't get any paper, or this card we won't replace the French government, etc. And how it can be inspire, how it can inspire other cities. We already have other cities in France that want to implement it as well. So by the support of Anvita, we would like to replicate in other cities. Maybe at international level, it will be great, like we can inspire other cities. And at some point, maybe in decades, I don't know, to think about like an equivalence between the card in the same country. For example, people who start in Paris and then move to Nantes and then move to Lyon in France may have, no, we don't know, like a currency in the way, in the migration parcours. I don't remember how to say that. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leah. And congratulations to Anvita and the city of Villeurbanne for launching these ID cards last week. And I hope that you succeed in your plans. And also, especially, I find it very interesting, this fostering of mobility of the intercity mobility of the migrants, making it easier for them. Colleagues, I invite you to put in the chat questions you might want to address to Anvita, to Leah regarding this practice. And at the same time, Leah, I invite you to put in the chat a question or a key challenge you faced during the Villeurbanne practice, or during the guide for welcoming cities practice, that you want the peers to answer. With that, I would now invite the representative from Godoy Cruz, Señora Camila. Os paso la palabra. y 8 minutos.
Hola, buenas tardes, buenos días, dependiendo del lugar donde estemos. Bueno, hablo en español, ¿está bien?
Yes,
quisiera
yes. I would
compartir
just
las
introduce
pantallas.
Camila Magana. She's from the International Relations of Godoy, the municipality of Godoy Cruz. Camila, 7 minutes, and then I give you a warning.
Ok. Se ve la presentación bien, ¿verdad?
Sí, veamos. Sí, ahora, perfecto. Perfecto, empezamos. Gracias.
Perfecto. Bueno, voy a ser muy concisa, les cuento, nosotros de Godoy Cruz estamos en un proyecto que se llama Migraciudades, que lo organiza OIM en conjunto con la Dirección Nacional de Migraciones de la Argentina, y CIPEC, que es otra organización. Ellos eligieron a Godoy Cruz para armar este proyecto, que es Migraciudades, y en el desarrollo del proyecto se nos habilitó a armar una oficina para las migraciones. Bueno, datos relevantes o el relevamiento que fuimos haciendo, nosotros en Godoy Cruz tenemos al menos un 8% de personas migrantes siendo residentes acá en el departamento. Esto viene de hace muchos años, la mayor cantidad de personas migrantes que tenemos es de los golpes de Pinochet en Chile, entonces tenemos muchas personas migrantes de Chile, y después en los últimos años, a partir del 2015, entre 2015 y 2018, también tuvimos mucha recibida de personas migrantes de Venezuela, ¿no? Pero bueno, la mayoría de las personas migrantes del departamento ya llevan acá más de 10 años o más. Estos diagnósticos los fuimos construyendo con OIM y con ACNUR, que, bueno, como les decía, hicimos dos proyectos, uno con ACNUR, que era básicamente para poder capacitar a las personas migrantes para así poder después acceder a un empleo, y con OIM, que tenía que ver con fortalecer justamente las políticas públicas destinadas a personas migrantes. Entonces desde ahí se pudo realizar un relevamiento de datos y estamos en ese proceso. Ahora termina la certificación de OIM la semana que viene, pero bueno, estamos en proceso. Por eso voy a ser bastante corta con lo que voy a decir, porque hay muchos resultados que no los tenemos porque estamos en ese proceso, pero bueno, ha sido un proceso arduo de 6 meses y esperamos que continúen. Bueno, ahí pueden ver algunas imágenes que nos han estado dando capacitaciones al personal del municipio y reuniones que hemos tenido con diferentes organizaciones de personas migrantes que están establecidas en el departamento. Muchos deben saber que la Argentina ya desde su constitución da cuenta de la importancia de la persona migrante, y somos un país en donde nos hemos construido a raíz de las personas migrantes, entonces muchos de los derechos están establecidos en nuestra constitución y luego hay leyes que van dándonos esos derechos, ¿no? Entonces tenemos un enfoque garantizado de derechos muy amplio, o bastante más amplio que por ahí otros países de la zona aledaña a nosotros, o bueno, del otro, o del viejo continente, por decirlo de alguna manera, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, con este proyecto hemos estado investigando qué población tenemos, a qué se dedica nuestra población migrante, cuáles son sus falencias, cuáles son sus problemáticas, y hemos dado cuenta de varias cuestiones, y a raíz de todo esto se va a inaugurar la semana que viene justo una oficina, que es la oficina para personas migrantes. La inauguración de esta oficina va a ser un hito porque lo que hemos podido recabar en los relevamientos de datos y en la calle cuando hemos estado hablando con las personas migrantes es que muchas veces no reconocen sus derechos porque no saben que los tienen. Entonces es muy difícil y que ellos puedan ejercerlos porque no los conocen, y además también porque muchas veces se acercan al gobierno local, que es como la primera instancia en donde se acerca una persona cuando llega, y por ahí el personal no está capacitado, no sabe dónde derivarlos, terminan haciendo una voltereta dentro de lo que es la parte burocrática del municipio para poder resolver su problema. Entonces, con esta oficina esperemos que esas derivaciones directamente caigan a la oficina y la oficina pueda derivarlos en su correspondencia, ¿no? Entonces, la idea es poder tener una oficina que tenga un funcionamiento con derivaciones, pero que también podamos desde ahí armar actividades con ellos. Antes del armado de la oficina, nosotros hemos tenido muchas reuniones con personas migrantes para que ellos nos digan cuáles son sus problemáticas o a dónde quieren apuntar con esta oficina y que no sea una mera oficina de atención y derivación, un espacio más del municipio, sino que puedan apropiarse del espacio, que el espacio sea para ellos y que desde ahí ellos mismos, en conjunto con el gobierno local, podamos darle respuestas a futuras problemáticas que existan en alguna otra corrida de personas migrantes. Así que estamos como muy contentos y muy entusiasmados de poder hacer la inauguración de esta oficina y agradecemos a las organizaciones que también nos pusieron en el puntapié de decir, bueno, la verdad que sí es una problemática, la verdad que si no lo visibilizamos es como que no existiera y estamos en ese proceso. Nuestro intendente ha sido parte del proceso, lo cual para nosotros es algo muy importante porque hoy en día creo que está pasando en varios países, pero en la Argentina como que se están poniendo en tela de juicio este tipo de derechos que ya existen, que ya están garantizados, que se ejercen en su mayoría, y hoy los ponemos en tela de juicio, o nuestros políticos los ponen en tela de juicio, o la sociedad los pone en tela de juicio. Entonces para nosotros es muy importante que esto no sea así, que sigamos garantizando la mayor cantidad de derechos que se puedan dar y justamente que después no solo estén garantizados en una ley o queden en una normativa, sino que también estén dentro de que se puedan ejercer. Entonces, bueno, estamos armando más allá de la inauguración de la oficina, sino el funcionamiento de la misma, que nos parece que es lo más rico. Hemos estado haciendo reuniones con las áreas de educación, de cultura, de salud, que por ahí son las áreas que más vemos que tienen vacancia las personas migrantes, entonces desde ahí poderle dar respuestas a las problemáticas que puedan surgir de las personas migrantes que lleguen al municipio. Entonces venimos haciendo un trabajo muy arduo que se va a culminar en la inauguración de esta oficina, pero que es mucho más que un espacio físico, que es mucho más que un nombre o que una mera oficina de atención, sino que es un espacio que para ellos va a ser van a tener la posibilidad de ocuparlo por si quieren hacer sus reuniones, hay una sala de reuniones también, entonces ya empezamos a integrarlos desde el gobierno local, que es lo que nosotros necesitamos. Muchas veces, creo que lo han venido diciendo todos, hay derechos que están y que las personas migrantes no las conocen, entonces para nosotros es importante que ellos ya teniendo una oficina ya saben a qué punto referenciarse y desde ahí poder armar la actividad o la respuesta a la problemática que pueda llegar a surgir, ¿no? Bueno, y los desafíos que fuimos enfrentando a lo largo del...
Queda un minuto, Camila.
Ok,
Gracias.
fuimos enfrentando varios desafíos, esto tiene que ver con la por ahí, poco interés, o no poco interés, sino que las personas no saben, los agentes municipales, qué trata o cómo se trata a una persona migrante, entonces en paralelo a la creación de la oficina y toda la parte que tiene que ver más con el ejecutivo y con el trabajo que nosotros venimos armando con otras organizaciones, se está armando desde el Honorable Consejo Deliberante, que es la parte legislativa del municipio, un protocolo para capacitar a todos los agentes de primera atención y que se puedan, digamos, tener herramientas cada vez que alguien se acerque al municipio a preguntar por cualquier cuestión. Así que bueno, es un proceso largo, por ahí me gustaría extenderme un montón de tiempo más, pero es un proceso largo que venimos haciendo que va a culminar con esta oficina y que queremos que estos encuentros como el de hoy, y que espero que sigan, nos ayuden para también darle un sustento a nuestra oficina y que tenga una estructura robusta en cuanto a la atención a las personas migrantes y el desarrollo de nuevas políticas públicas.
Vale, muchas gracias, Camila, y felicidades. Sí, felicidades por y suerte para el lanzamiento de esta oficina que es más que va más allá, ¿no? De solo una oficina. Y ¿qué más? animo para dejar en el comentarios en el chat unas preguntas o un reto particular que he enfrentado durante este largo proceso. And also other colleagues, I encourage you to put questions in the chat addressed to Camila about this practice of Godoy Cruz. And with this, we will now move to the next practice, which is the practice of Braga, Portugal. Do we, Mr. Antonio Di Rieto, I invite you. Antonio Di Rieto, he is the head of Social Cohesion and Solidarity Division in the municipality of Braga. Antonio, over to you.
Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, learning a lot with so many participants. I will share my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, like this, yes?
Perfect.
So what brings me here is to share about a project that was implemented by the city of Braga with several...
Antonio, just a minute. If you could just show us one slide right now, it's also showing us the next slide. Our colleagues might not be able to view. If not, it's okay. It's in 2-slide mode. We are also seeing the slide which would be coming next.
Okay. This is the first time that it's happening to me. Why is that? Presentation mode.
Yes. It's okay. It's okay. It's big enough. Thank you.
Okay. Let me try to like this. Better?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. So the project is called Braga, an Intercultural Journey. We developed this with several partners from the city. During 3 years, we caught the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, COVID-19, and the idea was to bring the integration and the union of third country nationals in Braga through a set of activities that we target the population in Braga. The project was developed on 2 different concepts bases: culture and diversity. The global goals were to enhance the recognition of the different cultures present in our city, to value the diversity and tolerance, important aspects to good integration, and share difference and learning, promoting the potential of the migrant communities. So we must see the communities as an add value to our city, our societies, and we do that. We promote a lot of spaces and information movements to come together, and I will say that in front. So the idea is to deconstruct prejudices and stereotypes associated usually to migrant people. The starting point was our municipal plan for the integration of migrants. We are now in the third chapter of this municipal plan that is being updated, and the role of culture and diversity is very present. Braga, for instance, is media arts recognized by UNESCO city. So the idea is to bring people through culture and to the acceptance of the diversity. Our city has more than 2,000 years. Portugal has 900 years, and we are older than the country itself. We have less than 200,000 inhabitants in 2022. In the last census, we increased 6.5% our population. There is a rupture comparing with Lisbon and Oporto, for instance. The idea was to bring people together in intercultural cafes, in campaigns, in contests in schools, We have a lot of vodcasts and podcasts, a human library, an institutional video, an official site, mentorships, and I have some numbers ahead. So the idea was to bring everyone in a set of different activities that fit to all. Our partners were a consulting company that is called Edit Value, is our partner in several projects, public and private institutions, social institutions also, and schools, because we think the education is the pillar that we need to grab and to make it strong every day. For whom? Migrants, refugees, internally displaced people, and stateless persons also. So third, country nationals, students, social workers, and also the agents in Braga that are working with us. We bring them in intercultural days. The outcome of the project was 69 intercultural cafes with people from all over the world. We have more than 140 nationalities living in Braga. We have an app in our city in 5 languages, including Portuguese, French, Spanish, English, and Ukrainian. Because Ukrainian, even before the war in Ukraine, this last one in February last year, Ukrainians were one of the biggest community in Braga. 4 gender equality campaigns with 1,000 participants, 30 mentorships, including 14 third country nationals, 108 vodcasts and podcasts, so plus 2, 108 podcasts and 108 podcasts, 1 Communities Day with more than 10 communities represented, from the United States to China, to Ukrainian, to Afghanistan, Portugal also, Chile, Brazil, of course. The Brazilians are in Portugal are the biggest community living in Portugal and also in Braga. Webinars, newsletters, intercultural workshop, intercultural tournament, sports meeting, 1 immigrant entrepreneurship boot camp. We have 2 guides. You can see open arms. We call it Braga de Braços Abertos. Is a anti-rumors guide. And we also have some postcards, some posters about the rumors. For instance, migrants don't pay to the Social Security. We are being invaded by migrants. They are taking our jobs. This is all not true, and we have numbers to justify because this is false. Future plans for phases. We are in several programs. For instance, this 3rd phase of the municipal plan for integration of migrants. The Embrace is a project with a foundation from Portugal and founded by EA grants. Embrace means empowering migrants to be representative actors in community. The idea is to co-design policies with migrants, not just design for them, design with them after hear them. We have a partnership for integration with the High Commissioner for Migrations, intercultural cities from the Council of Europe, for instance, the Net Idea project. There is a network of European towns about anti-discrimination, diversity, equity. We have a lot of training sessions. For instance, today, new intervention for immigrants. We have 2-day session for local agents to receive new methodologies about rumors and to integrate better our newcomers. The main difficulties were about obtaining answers to our questionnaires because we went through the pandemic of COVID-19. A lot of stuff that we have been planned went to online models. And this brought a difficulty to get more participants involved. But
Antonio, 1
yes.
minute left.
No, I'm just ending. So as a lesson or two lessons in culture, we know that culture plays an important role in society that allows to perpetuate values and customs and everything that make a city or a region or a country unique. At the same time, is a source of creativity. So that is why I talked about the media arts UNESCO recognized in Braga. Diversity brings us a lot of assumptions, but we need to accept the concept of being different as an added value to our city. So we think that this is a project that can be replicated in other cities. If we safeguard the context, there are a lot of activities that can be replicated. So for my question, my challenge is to create safe routes for immigrants, so we can achieve and deliver some work to the global compact. Thank you so much.
Yes, so many thanks for your presentation, Antonio. And I see here that you would be a key person to answer the question, which was collectively raised from the previous set of practices we had, and that is about finding channels to reach out to the target populations, in your case, migrant, refugees, stateless, IDPs. And so I think like with the international cafes, the intercultural cafes, sorry, the podcast, and also I'm more interested in the app, the incoming app, maybe in the Q&A. Now we would open for a Q&A, and you could like tell us more about the app maybe. And I also invite in the meantime, Camila, did you raise your, and Camila and also Antonio, to raise a question which our participants and the peer cities would answer? A challenge that you faced while developing your projects or implementing them. Camila?
Ay, no, perdón. Se ha conectado sin...
Te escuchamos, os escuchamos. Es que os animo para I encourage you to share with us a question, a main challenge that you faced while trying to set up this office for migrants, which you would like our peers, the peer cities, and also the participants to answer.
Perdón que se traba mucho la traducción y mi inglés es muy malo. Entiendo que tengo que dejar una pregunta o una reflexión en cuanto al tema, ¿no?
Sí, sí, una pregunta, un reto enfrentado, ¿no? Durante este proceso de montar la oficina. Y
Nuestro desafío más grande para nosotros es muchas veces la mirada de la sociedad, con esto que yo decía, que se están poniendo ante la discusión muchos de los derechos que ya están garantizados, que por ahí empiezan a existir comentarios de por qué gastar recursos del Estado en personas migrantes cuando las personas argentinas no tienen garantizados los derechos por faltante económico o por la inflación. O sea, estamos viviendo también muchas crisis constantemente, entonces empiezan a surgir este tipo de comentarios. Entonces ha sido por ahí uno de los desafíos, y hemos tenido que mover las fichas de cierta forma que esto no genere un mal impacto en la sociedad, porque si no después quienes reciben el odio y la discriminación son las personas migrantes, justamente. Entonces, no hemos querido hacer mucho festejo ni alaraca de la inauguración, porque estamos en tiempos muy difíciles y la sociedad está cuestionando mucho por ahí derechos que nosotros pensábamos que ya estaban 100% garantizados, ¿no? Ese ha sido un desafío, al menos para nosotros, en saber cómo plantear y cómo difundir esta nueva política pública que estamos llevando a cabo. Y después una pregunta sería, bueno, creo que los chicos de Buenos Aires no sé si estaban, pero nosotros sí necesitamos desde la oficina poder hacer un empadronamiento automático de las personas, porque hoy se hace a puño y letra de las personas que participan y son residentes de las elecciones del gobierno local. Entonces, bueno, ver después, no creo que ahora puedan dar todo, pero ver cómo hicieron ese empadronamiento automático que a nosotros nos serviría mucho para que ya directamente desde la oficina lo propongamos y queden las personas migrantes empadronadas de ahora y para siempre, porque cada vez que hay una elección, ellos se acercan a una oficina que es otra, que es distinta, y lo dice, o sea, anotan la persona según lo que dice la persona de dónde es todo y los años de residencia y ya está. Entonces, todas las elecciones tenemos un padrón distinto y las personas no son automáticamente incorporadas en el padrón y hay un porcentaje de participación súper bajo, que justamente es porque no saben que se puede votar y porque no saben cómo inscribirse al padrón.
Okay. Muchas gracias, Camila. So I would just reiterate, Camila asked for a means, two questions I would say. Firstly, how to reduce the hate speech or ill narrative against migrants, the kind of narrative why are resources put to uphold the rights of migrants where the rights of the local host communities themselves are not being upheld. So what do you do to balance the narratives in this kind of situation? And the second question is, and directly more addressed to the municipality of Buenos Aires, but also to all the peers here. Have any recommendations of an automatic system or automated system to input inscribe people into the local register? And I also see the question of Antonio, the challenge, like how could we help fulfill the global compact for migration through the creation of safe immigration routes? And the question of Leah from while her presentation was also, how do we better protect people in our territories? So, colleagues, I invite you to also, I see here Adele from CRY. I also see there was our colleague Chiara Moslo from the Migrant Youth and Children Platform. And I also invite the other peers, maybe to Buenos Aires to start first with Camila's question.
Hola, no sé si me escuchan bien ahí. Javier compartió por el chat un poco el resumen de lo que fue todo el proyecto de reforma del Código Electoral, que, como decíamos antes, no solo contempla el cambio en el empadronamiento automático, es decir, levantar la barrera para que los migrantes puedan acceder de una forma más sencilla al voto, sino que es un cambio más general del código electoral en muchos otros aspectos de accesibilidad al voto para distintos grupos. Pero en relación a lo que planteó específicamente Camila, el empadronamiento automático tiene que ver con aquellas personas que cumplen con los requisitos que establece la ley en Argentina para votar, quedan automáticamente empadronados, y esto es un trabajo ya de la justicia electoral, que Javier seguramente puede contar mejor, y aparecen en el padrón en mesas específicas de migrantes para poder votar en las elecciones locales. Ese es un trabajo que ya no se realiza desde el Poder Ejecutivo, sino que lo maneja el Poder Judicial a través de la justicia electoral. No sé si Javi, ¿querés agregar algo?
Sí, gracias por hacer la intro porque justo me entró una llamada de teléfono. Hay una recomendación en relación a las modificaciones de la normativa, que también Adel había hecho la consulta previamente, y que veo que es algo que Camila está viviendo también en Godoy Cruz, hacer modificaciones específicas de la normativa enfocadas a la población migrante puede despertar una contrarreacción, obviamente, xenófoba. Entonces, lo que hicimos en la ciudad a partir del análisis de la legislación previa y de los proyectos de ley previa que había, fue introducir la modificación normativa en relación a los migrantes en un paquete más grande. Entonces, había modificaciones para toda la población, no era algo solo segmentado. Era la cuestión del derecho político de los migrantes para facilitar su voto a nivel local era uno de los puntos de una reforma mucho más amplia, donde se incluía la paridad de género en los cargos locales, donde se incluían distintas herramientas para que también los jóvenes votaran, donde se incluían políticas para la población en general en relación a la selección de candidaturas, la inclusión de la boleta única. Bueno, Mendoza hace poco tuvo una modificación del sistema de boleta. Aprovechar esos movimientos, digamos, de paquetes más integrales para abordar la temática migrante puede ayudar a que no se genere esa situación donde se piense por la población general que estás trabajando una política específica para los migrantes y se te generen estas contrarreacciones. Después, ahí les pegué la revista, hubo un trabajo previo muy largo de análisis de todos los proyectos que se habían presentado en los últimos 20 años, donde se hicieron mesas de diálogo. Después se invitó a la legislatura, a las organizaciones migrantes, a que fueran a exponer cuáles eran sus posiciones. También compartimos ahí un atlas electoral, vimos un poco cómo estaba la región. ¿Por qué vimos la región sudamericana en el caso de la ciudad? Porque la mayoría de nuestros migrantes son de la región y tienen culturas democráticas diferentes. Por ejemplo, el registro automático que tiene la Argentina no lo tienen tantos países tampoco. Muchos países, la persona para votar tiene que ir y registrarse en una oficina en particular y tiene un documento particular para votar. Nosotros a cosas que las tenemos acostumbradas y que nos parecen súper normales, pero la realidad es que son muy particulares de la Argentina. Y a partir de ese registro que en la Argentina ya para los nacionales se hace automático, en Argentina les cuento un poco a las personas que son de otros países, cuando nosotros cumplimos 14 años, vamos a sacar nuestra tarjeta de identificación y eso dispara un trámite para que nos incluyan a los 16 en el registro electoral. No tenemos que hacer más nada. O sea, una vez que cumplimos 16 años, ya estamos en el registro habilitados para votar, sin ningún trámite adicional. Lo que hicimos en la ciudad fue habilitar que ese mecanismo también incluyera a los migrantes. Entonces, el migrante cuando cumple el requisito a partir de los 16 años, que es tener residencia permanente en la ciudad, lo hace en el registro civil o lo hace en otra oficina pública, eso dispara una alerta de manera directa al organismo electoral para que lo sume en el registro de votación. Y a partir de eso, 6 meses antes de la elección, tenemos un listado definitivo donde tenemos los nombres, los DNI, los domicilios de cada una de las personas migrantes que está habilitado a votar, para poder avisarles y al mismo tiempo, si alguien quedó excluido que cumpla los requisitos, incluirlo. Eso es muy resumido el proceso y la recomendación que les doy.
Me gustaría agregar, en función de lo que dice Javier y de algunos de los puntos que se están poniendo en el chat, que me parece que la clave del éxito de muchas de estas políticas tiene que ver con la transversalización de la mirada de la migración, no solamente desde el área que trabaja específicamente con migrantes y refugiados, sino que esa mirada pueda ser compartida por las distintas áreas del gobierno sobre el que se está trabajando. Cuando uno piensa en una política de salud, lo pueda pensar para todos los habitantes de esa ciudad o localidad, incluyendo los distintos grupos vulnerables o los distintos grupos minoritarios, y eso incluye a la población migrante. Y no que necesariamente ese trabajo lo tenga que hacer un área separada. Entiendo que esto es un poco idealista y que es a lo que todos estamos yendo, pero para eso nuestro trabajo principal tiene que ser o sea, poder esparcir esa mirada transversal y esa mirada sobre la migración a las diferentes áreas temáticas que tiene que abordar un gobierno, sobre todo un gobierno local.
Thank you very much, Javier, for elaborating the process of the automatic registration, and also to Mercedes for pointing out again this this important point which came across, that this the need for intersectionality, yes, but also the silos should not be created within the local governments. On which groups do we need to assist? I see Adele has raised his hand. Adele?
Yes, I I think I can talk in Portuguese, maybe. That's easier. Eu quero mencionar um pouco o Brasil é um país muito grande na América Latina e tem seu contexto político delicado, né? Talvez, né? Para o imigrante poder começar a votar, teria que mudar a Constituição brasileira. Então, é num nível federal, nacional, e nas últimas eleições brasileiras, a gente notou que a parte sul do Brasil tem um viés de direita, né, conservador, que pode não querer fazer isso, né, e a gente, não sei se vocês acompanharam, a gente teve momentos muito tensos, assim, de quem vai ganhar a eleição e tal, e aí, afinal, o Brasil tem um mapa dividido, a parte sul do Brasil é azul, né, referindo à direita, e a parte norte é vermelha, então é bem complicado chegar a um ponto de poder aprovar uma mudança dessa, né, além de, também lembrei que para votar você precisa de alistamento militar primeiro, né? Então, eu não sei quão isso pode complicar. Por exemplo, você precisa se alistar para o serviço do Exército, mas um imigrante com 18, 19 anos, ele está numa idade boa para servir no Exército, né? Nessa prática, e aí vai ter que servir para poder votar também, e aí eu acho que vem muitas complexidades assim. No intuito para a dinâmica para que isso aconteça ao longo dos próximos anos, a gente vai ter uma conferência nacional de imigração, a segunda conferência nacional de imigração ano que vem, e a primeira foi 2014, né? E aí, em janeiro, a gente vai ter uma conferência estadual no estado do Rio como todo, para poder eleger delegados que possam representar o estado do Rio de Janeiro em Brasília em junho do ano que vem. E esses delegados, quem está organizando a referência, a gente também está ajudando na organização da conferência no CRAI. Estamos dando total preferência para imigrantes e refugiados serem eleitos para irem lá, né? E aí vem uma votação dentro da conferência estadual para eleger esses delegados. E a gente já nota umas dúvidas, confusões assim de quem vota. Eu digo da parte dos imigrantes e refugiados que moram no Rio, a dúvida de quem vota, de quem pode votar, se é um imigrante funcionário público, pode votar ou não pode votar, e aí entram conflitos, né? Eu acho que essa conferência em janeiro pode ser um primeiro passo para os imigrantes entenderem a importância de um voto, né, ali no espaço. Então, a gente está dando total prioridade para esse evento e tentando juntar o máximo possível de imigrantes e refugiados. Só para ter noção, eu acho que o estado do Rio ou a cidade tem mais de 10 mil imigrantes, né, refugiados, e a nossa estimativa de presença pode chegar a 500 só. Então, a gente está tentando entrar em contato com outros municípios para que ofereçam transporte, para que ajudem, né, os imigrantes chegarem na cidade do Rio, mas também tem essas dificuldades de uma interconexão, interarticulação entre os municípios do estado. Então, e esses são desafios que aparecem nesses momentos, que é legal também para a gente poder trabalhar nisso.
So, Adele, many thanks for raising this important point, and also mentioning about your International Congress on Migration, this conference that you will have in January, and best of luck for that. And this brings me also to the question by Antonio on how can we best contribute, how can local governments best contribute to the implementation on the Global Compact on Migration. And I also see that the practice that Adele shared, like the trying to get this international conference on migration in Rio, is also linked to
I'm
this.
sorry, it's national. In
National.
January we will have like a state of Rio, a conference, and in June we will have a national conference of migration just to implement politics and for migrants.
All right, thank you. But in a way, it's a very positive action by Rio together with migrants, the city, to try to shape the migration policies starting bottom up. And this is a key practice which we would be interested also in bringing to the call to local action for migrants and refugees, which in answer to Antonio's question is a way where cities can showcase the work that they are doing by supporting migrants and refugees in their territories and bringing this to the global discussions around the global compacts on migration. And also next month, UCLG, together with the mayor's mechanism, is going to the Global Refugee Forum in Geneva. And one of our key goals here is to gather as many local actions as possible to showcase at this event. And so we would be getting in touch with a lot of you, especially the practice that Adil, you shared about the conference, and Antonio about the Diversidades practice. We are already in touch with Mercedes about and Javier, and also we'll get in touch with Godoy Cruz. But now we see that Samuel has raised his hand. Samuel?
Hello. Hi. Muy buenas tardes, saludos a todos. Soy Samuel Samos de Panamá. ¿Me escuchan? Hola.
Sí, Samuel, te escuchamos.
Ok, perdón. Sí, de Panamá, muy interesante. He estado escuchando las distintas municipalidades. Yo soy del municipio de Panamá. Yo soy de la dirección de las etnias que trabaja con los grupos étnicos. En este caso son los indígenas, los afrodescendientes y grupos minoritarios y la migración que tenemos en la ciudad. Nosotros, al crear esta oficina, esto no existía dentro de la estructura orgánica del municipio de Panamá. Hace 4 años atrás, el señor alcalde Osolí Fábrega propone una oficina que trabaje para los grupos étnicos y nos da la distinción de ser el primer director en esta oficina. Y hemos estado mirando el tema de la migración, un tema que a nosotros en Panamá, no digo que nos haya afectado, pero ha sido prácticamente la ruta para poder migrar hacia los Estados Unidos y otros países. Y la migración ha sido bastante alta. Hemos identificado de que muchas de estas personas que han migrado de parte de la trocha que no es una ruta de migración, eso es una selva, lamentablemente una área bastante boscosa, bastante selvática, y han pasado muchas situaciones en esta área que incluso personas han perdido su vida en esa área, pero bueno, ha sido la decisión del ser humano de poder tomar esa ruta para poder ir a otro país donde ellos quieren llegar. Del porcentaje de las personas que han migrado por esta ruta, muchos de ellos no se quedan en la ciudad, no se quedan en Panamá, más bien buscan ayuda para poder llegar a otros países, y Panamá en su política migratoria ha establecido algunos parámetros y algunas accesibilidades para que ellos puedan pasar, incluso se le ha dado la mano en el tema de salud, en algunos casos, porque muchos pasan con algunas situaciones de salud bastante críticas. Pero lo interesante que estaba escuchando de parte de los distintos municipios en el tema que hablaban de el derecho al voto, también quería hablar en ese aspecto. Nosotros en Panamá, nuestra constitución, en el artículo 10 de la Constitución de Panamá, dispone que los extranjeros con 5 años consecutivos de residencia en el territorio nacional puedan solicitar la nacionalidad panameña por naturalización, siempre y cuando hayan alcanzado su mayoría de edad, declaren su voluntad de nacionalizarse y renuncien expresamente a su nacionalidad de origen o a la que tengan que se compruebe y que poseen el idioma español y el conocimiento básico de geografía, historia, organización política panameña, en este caso en nuestro país. Además, lo que pueden hacer, también pueden hacer los extranjeros con 3 años consecutivos de residencia en el territorio que tengan hijos nacidos en Panamá. Este segmento de la población sin duda marca un precedente en cada elección general y es de gran importancia los prescindibles tener una idea de que quien pueda escoger o ejercer el derecho a sufragio en las próximas elecciones que vamos a tener en el 2024. Además, aparecen 11.661 extranjeros naturalizados y 129.565 individuos de familias extranjeras que podrán ejercer su derecho a voto para escoger al próximo presidente de la República de Panamá. Entonces, en esa medida, quería compartir, nosotros tenemos también algunas políticas que han favorecido, en algunos casos, algunas normas que han favorecido en el tema de la migración y las accesibilidades que hemos tenido también como país. Nosotros como municipio no asumimos esa tarea en pie, sino que es una tarea realizada directamente con la Oficina de Migración, que lleva esa tarea, esa carga bastante directa. Para mí es un reto, luego de escuchar todas esas iniciativas que están realizando otros municipios en otros países. Para mí es un reto iniciar la investigación y evaluaciones para ver cómo también nosotros desde nuestra instancia podemos coayudar y ayudar también en este proceso. Quería compartir con ustedes esto, decirles que de verdad que me ha gustado escuchar algunas acciones afirmativas de las que están proponiendo y las que están trabajando algunas municipalidades, y creo que esta es la idea, ¿no? De poder compartir experiencias y procesos que se están desarrollando en otras áreas y nosotros poderlos aprender y evaluarlos y ver posibilidades de también ejercerlo en nuestras áreas. Así que es lo que quería compartir con ustedes esta tarde. Gracias.
Thank you, Samuel, for sharing with us the case of Panama. And also, yes, this is very much the motto of our peer learnings, to have cities help other cities facing similar challenges, collectively brainstorm solutions to addressing them. Now, with this, we have almost half an hour left, and we have 3 practices which did arrive late, but we do want to give them a chance to present. So I would urge here the representatives from Quilmes, Fernando Colizoli, and Valparaiso, and Juarez that I'm very sorry, but you will have to present your practices as 5-minute elevator pitches so as to have more time for an open discussion before we close the session. So I see Fernando is already ready. So I will just give you a brief introduction. Fernando is the Director General of International Relations in the municipality of Quilmes. Fernando, 5 minutos, ¿vale?
Buenas tardes a todos, muchas gracias, Michi. ¿Se puede ver la presentación? Está compartiendo, sí. Buenísimo. Bueno, un saludo para todos desde Argentina. La verdad es un placer escuchar las experiencias que han ido contando hasta el momento. Yo soy director general de Relaciones Institucionales en el municipio de Quilmes. Para aquellos que no nos conocen, Quilmes es un municipio de periferia, se encuentra a pocos kilómetros de la ciudad de Buenos Aires. Tienes alrededor de 700.000 habitantes. Tiene alrededor de 700.000 habitantes y cerca del 8% de nuestra población, es decir, alrededor de 54.000 personas, son de origen extranjero. Un poco lo que quiero contarles, porque entiendo que el énfasis de esta reunión está puesta en la participación política, es que como resultado del trabajo que hemos hecho a lo largo de estos 4 años, entre el 2019 y el 2023, hemos logrado que la participación política de los migrantes aumentara en un 80%. Si bien todavía sigue siendo limitada para nuestras pretensiones, en la última elección que tuvimos hace un mes, votaron alrededor de 12.000 migrantes en nuestro distrito, lo cual es un número importante. Quilmes fue declarado en el año 2015 como el primer distrito plurinacional e intercultural de la Argentina. Es el primer distrito que lleva este nombre, esta declaración, y eso es debido a que es un municipio que tiene 357 años de historia y donde su población, su sociedad, es marcada por la diversidad. Además del 8% de la población migrante, que está conformada por cerca de 40 colectividades, tenemos colectividades latinoamericanas, asiáticas, europeas, africanas. También nuestra historia está muy marcada por los pueblos originarios, por las poblaciones indígenas que se asentaron en esta localidad. Así que por eso la diversidad y la pluralidad está muy marcada en este territorio. Y sin embargo, y esto es lo que quiero hacer hincapié, a pesar de esta historia y de esta característica, hasta el año 2019 nunca había habido un área que atendiera las demandas de la población migrante, a pesar de que es una población muy significativa. Nunca había habido un área, ni políticas públicas, ni programas dirigidos a la población migrante. Esto se modifica en el año 2019. Nosotros empezamos la gestión en diciembre del año 2019, encabezada por una mujer, por una intendenta, Mayra Mendoza, la primera intendenta mujer joven en llegar a la máxima, al máximo cargo de nuestra ciudad. Y desde ahí empezamos a llevar adelante un programa, un plan municipal de gobernanza migratoria que tiene básicamente 3 ejes. Estos ejes son, por un lado, el acceso a derechos, entendiendo que una de las dificultades para la participación de los migrantes y para la no discriminación era que efectivamente eran discriminados por las políticas públicas. Los migrantes no tenían en nuestro territorio igualdad en el acceso a la vivienda, igualdad en el acceso a la salud, a la educación, que el resto de nuestra ciudadanía, inclusive tenían dificultades para acceder a su documentación básica. Entonces, lo que empezamos a hacer es, bueno, llevamos adelante gracias a un convenio con la OIM, vi que contaba Camila la experiencia de Godoy Cruz. Bueno, gracias al trabajo con OIM inauguramos la primera oficina de atención migrante en el distrito, que lleva el nombre de Marcelina Meneses. Marcelina Meneses es una migrante boliviana que era de acá de Quilmes y que fue asesinada en un acto de discriminación y xenofobia. Entonces, en nombre a ella, entendiendo que las mujeres y las diversidades son las que sufren fundamentalmente la discriminación, se decidió ponerle el nombre de Marcelina a la oficina y se llevan atendidas más de 3.500 consultas de ciudadanos migrantes en este tiempo. Además, como parte del trabajo de acceso a derechos, hemos acercado a los distintos consulados. Más de 12 veces hemos tenido los consulados de los distintos países que son mayoritarios dentro de nuestra población para que los migrantes no tengan que trasladarse hasta Buenos Aires o hasta otras ciudades para hacer sus trámites. Entonces han venido los consulados de Paraguay, de Bolivia, de Venezuela, de Uruguay, de Perú a hacer los trámites en nuestro distrito. Además, hemos llevado como parte del programa de acceso a derechos trabajo de inclusión laboral, de fomento al emprendedurismo y a la integración económica de los migrantes, en parte gracias al trabajo con la ACNUR y también gracias al trabajo con la OIM. Eso como primer eje que quería marcar, el acceso a derechos. El segundo eje tiene que ver con el fortalecimiento institucional. Para nosotros, el Estado presente es fundamental, es importante lo que podamos hacer desde la gestión pública, pero necesitamos una comunidad organizada. No alcanza con el trabajo del Estado, sino que necesitamos de las organizaciones migrantes. Por eso hemos conformado, hemos fortalecido el Consejo de Colectividades, un espacio que aglutina a casi todas las organizaciones migrantes que están en el distrito. Ese Consejo de Colectividades está conformado por las colectividades asiáticas, europeas y también las latinoamericanas, dándole un marco de pluralidad, de respeto al propio trabajo entre las comunidades. Y además hemos acompañado con subsidios y con apoyos a las distintas organizaciones e instituciones para que puedan mejorar sus sedes, sus infraestructuras, que puedan llevar adelante programas. Y hoy la verdad que hemos visto crecer muchísimo a la organización comunitaria migrante. Y el tercer eje que hemos llevado adelante, es la cultura. Se hablaba antes, Antonio lo planteaba, la importancia de la cultura para acercar a las personas, para fomentar una comunidad democrática. Bueno, la fiesta más grande de Quilmes es la fiesta de las colectividades. Ahí hay una pequeña imagen donde durante 3 días participan más de 100.000 personas y durante 3 días visibilizamos esta heterogeneidad cultural del distrito. Además de eso, llevamos adelante ciclos que se llaman latidos y que lo que buscamos, así como la fiesta de las colectividades, es que cada comunidad, la comunidad boliviana, la comunidad paraguaya, en definitiva las principales comunidades de nuestro distrito, puedan visibilizar su cultura a través de la gastronomía, a través del arte, de las danzas y demás. Por eso, y para concluir, porque sé que ha sido una jornada larga, me gustaría plantear algunas reflexiones a partir de las preguntas que se fueron marcando. La primera me parece que tiene que ver con dar una respuesta en cómo podemos hacer para abordar la discriminación y fomentar la participación de los migrantes. Bueno, abordando la temática migrante desde un plano integral. No alcanza solo con una dirección de migrantes, con políticas específicas para los migrantes, sino que tiene que haber una decisión política fuerte de que los migrantes sean puestos en un plano de igualdad con el resto de nuestra ciudadanía. Ese como primer punto. El segundo eje que quiero hacer referencia es que no alcanza solo con el trabajo que vamos a hacer de los gobiernos locales. Necesitamos una articulación con los gobiernos nacionales. En nuestro caso, Argentina tiene, gracias a los gobiernos peronistas de Néstor y Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, una de las leyes migratorias más progresistas a nivel mundial. La Ley Nacional de Migraciones reconoce a la migración como un derecho humano y le brinda igualdad de derechos. Bueno, eso fue gracias a que hubo una decisión política y nosotros creemos que desde los gobiernos locales hay que trabajar en articulación con los gobiernos nacionales para poder llevarlo adelante. El tercer elemento para nosotros es que no alcanza solo con que los migrantes puedan participar y votar, sino que también tienen que ser elegidos, tienen que poder ser elegidos, y por eso hemos fomentado que en la última elección migrantes se hayan presentado en las listas para ser representantes, concejales, que integren los cuerpos legislativos de nuestra ciudad. Y el otro elemento que quiero llevar adelante es la importancia de la participación. Se relataba un poco la experiencia de la ciudad de Buenos Aires, de cómo llevó adelante el empadronamiento automático. Creo que además de lo que contaron los compañeros de la ciudad de Buenos Aires, fue importante la movilización ciudadana. Fue importante que las organizaciones migrantes durante mucho tiempo peticionaran, marcaran la importancia de la participación y de la necesidad de que haya un registro de que el registro sea automático y que puedan participar. Me parece que sin esa movilización previa, sin esa petición por parte de la ciudadanía, es muy difícil para nosotros como autoridades poder llevar adelante política. Entonces lo que tenemos que hacer es fomentar la participación de la ciudadanía como elemento fundamental para avanzar en políticas migrantes. Y una deuda que tenemos pendiente en Argentina, lamentablemente, a pesar de que tenemos una ley de avanzada, es que los migrantes puedan votar en elecciones nacionales. Este domingo hay una elección que es muy importante, donde se ponen en juego los derechos de la ciudadanía y entre ellos en particular los derechos de los migrantes, y los migrantes no van a poder ser partícipes de esa decisión. Entonces, una de las ausencias que tenemos, una de las carencias que tenemos todavía en términos democráticos, es que los migrantes puedan no solo elegir a nivel local, sino también a nivel nacional. Y lo último que quiero decir, y con esto termino, es que cómo hacemos para llegar a la población caminando, estando en el territorio. No alcanza solo con las redes sociales, no alcanza solo con lo audiovisual, hay que estar en los barrios donde están las y los migrantes. Así que muchas gracias y espero que se haya escuchado bien.
Thank you very much, Fernando. You answered a lot of questions which were raised throughout, also especially the one about in the end, how do we reach migrants on the ground? And best of luck for the Sunday elections. And I am also sure that the cases of the migrant centers, Marcelina and Joshua, would also be of great inspiration to the municipality of Godoy Cruz, who will also now launch a new office. And with that, I would like to invite the city of Valparaiso and then the city Ciudad Juarez. Do we have with us Valparaiso and Ciudad Juarez in the room?
I don't think so, Prachi.
Okay, in that case, I would quickly tell you about the policies. So the city of Valparaiso, they have launched a communal policy for the differences and cultural diversity in their city. And this also comprises the opening of the centers of attention to migrants, principally in the area of primary health. And also, like the case of Quilmes, a consolidation of all the migrant organizations, 11 of them, which they have brought together in their city, and a regularization of the municipal office that works in this field. And then we also had the case of the city of Ciudad Juarez in so Ciudad Juarez, they drafted and launched a charter of human rights in their city, a local charter of human rights. And so these are the practices that we had today. And I would once again, since we have now more time for open discussions, so I would try to open the floor for that. And I encourage Fernando to raise a question, like which was a key challenge that you faced while maybe during the setup of your offices or the implementation of the 3 axes you said you worked on. Personally, also, I am very interested in learning how the municipality of Quilmes is working with UNHCR. So I encourage you to raise a question for the peers to answer and also answer my question.
Se entrecortó un poco, escuché más o menos las preguntas, pero no entiendo la dirección. Por un lado, contar la experiencia con ACNUR. Somos parte de la red de ciudades solidarias. En el año 2020, en el marco de la pandemia, firmamos un convenio con ACNUR para poder ser parte de esta red de acogida de la población refugiada y la población de interés. Fundamentalmente la población de interés de ACNUR que tenemos en Quilmes es la población venezolana, colombiana y senegalesa, y con ellos hemos podido avanzar básicamente en dos trabajos, uno puntual con respecto a la educación de la población de acogida. Hemos recibido fondos de ACNUR para poder mejorar la infraestructura de escuelas que son frecuentadas por la población de interés. Nos ha permitido mejorar la incorporación, la integración de la población de interés en la educación. Y el otro aspecto que hemos podido avanzar con ACNUR tiene que ver con el fortalecimiento institucional de la oficina migrante para que tenga capacitación las personas que trabajan en la oficina para la atención de la población refugiada. Esos son los dos aspectos que pudimos avanzar con ACNUR y esperamos poder seguir en el futuro. Y con respecto a los desafíos, me parece que sí, que por un lado el principal desafío que tenemos como población es como hacedores de políticas migrantes, tiene que ver con esta emergencia, con el crecimiento de los discursos de odio, de discursos xenófobos que están sucediendo en la Argentina y que eso están a nivel mundial. Entonces la pregunta es un poco cómo combatir, cómo mostrar el aspecto positivo de la migración al resto de la población de nuestras sociedades.
Thank you very much. It is very interesting. In the framework of your work is a Solidarity City with UNHCR. You are strengthening the Office for Migrant Population also to address the needs of refugee population. Is that true? And that is a great way to showcase the complementarity that these two compacts, for instance, the Global Compact of Migration and the Global Compact of Refugees, they have, and how they also help us forward move towards the sustainable development goals. And I would now ask the participants in the room to respond to Fernando's question, is that what is the best way to balance the speech, to counter the xenophobic narratives that migrant policy makers they are facing currently? I see Adele.
Thank you. Eu acho que para combater, né, essa questão de xenofobia, questão de não aceitação, talvez, de participação política dos imigrantes, é até uma questão que foi mencionada mais cedo, de que sempre nas sociedades mais conservadoras o imigrante vem para roubar emprego, para substituir, por exemplo, o nacional, né, nessas questões, e isso, em termos econômicos, sociais, isso é uma não é uma verdade, né? Nem, em nenhum aspecto desse. Então, eu acho que uma melhor informação, melhor apoio, talvez, da parte do governo em se dar o trabalho de explicar isso para a população, eu acho que faz a total diferença, né? Desculpa, sempre estou levando o exemplo do Rio de Janeiro, mas em 2017, se eu não me engano, um palestino aqui que vendia comida na rua sofreu xenofobia e agressão da parte dos policiais da fiscalização. E a própria população do bairro levou isso para o Facebook, postou fotos e vídeos condenando esse ato. E na mesma noite, o prefeito chamou, que é o atual prefeito, aliás, o Eduardo Paes, chamou esses jovens, ele e quem trabalhava com ele, e deu a licença para que trabalhar naquele ponto, né? E aí eu acho que ali, naquele momento, ele sinalizou, né, que o trabalho do imigrante é legítimo, ele não vem para roubar a vaga do brasileiro, ele vem para acrescentar com certeza para a economia e tudo mais. E a partir desse momento, eu quero chamar a atenção, outros imigrantes e refugiados, principalmente árabes que trabalham muito com comida, conseguiram muitos pontos pela cidade do Rio de Janeiro para a venda desses produtos, né, que é esfirra, quibe, essas coisas. Então, assim, uma manifestação bem marcada, bem política do próprio prefeito, né? E aí eu também incluo que deve partir do próprio presidente, do próprio governador do estado. Ela abriu um caminho, uma política para que facilita que os imigrantes e refugiados tenham licença para trabalhar na rua e não sofrerem mais com essa questão. Então, isso é muito legal, assim, que acontece às vezes, mas eu acho que também a questão da imprensa está do lado desses políticos também, né? Ganhar a imprensa é muito importante para ela apoiar e dar visibilidade para a população.
Thank you, Adele. And I also see that this kind of initiatives would also require a level of trust between the migrant communities via their CSO or the migrant or refugee associations with the governments. And in this direction, I also see our colleague Chiara from the Migration Youth and Children Platform has raised her hand. Chiara?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to come in quickly on like the question about xenophobia and discrimination, because I think it connects to the point about the GCM, because I think something that like what is so special about the Global Compact is the whole of society approach. And I think that was something that I guess I wanted to uplift from the presentations as well from the different cities. I think it was really exciting to hear about like these initiatives that really are taking a whole of society approach, and especially like engaging different people in different settings through different like forms of communication, different means. And I think that that's the long game, right? To sort of creating champions in your society for more diversity in the society, for more migration. And I think especially I just wanted to highlight like bringing in youth is a huge part of that. Something like going into schools or engaging with young people where they are is huge for like getting the next generation. Like we're on board, we're here, but like I think engaging with young people is really important to this like sort of long-term countering narratives and fostering and accepting an inclusive society. And you'll see that change sort of pay off more like exponentially basically over time.
Thank you, Chiara, and I also hope that the guide that the MYCP has prepared together with the mayor's mechanism would actually be disseminated. We hope to disseminate it to a lot of migrant and refugee-friendly local governments who would peruse it to best build this kind of trust relationships and cooperation relationships with the youth, and especially the youth from migrant, refugee, stateless backgrounds. And so now, colleagues, we have about 5 minutes. So if there are any pressing questions from the floor which were not answered, or any comments about any of the practices that were shared today, I encourage you to raise your virtual hand. And well, in that case, I did have a question actually for Antonio. Antonio, the question was, I was very interested in this large scale intercultural cafes that you organized with people from diverse backgrounds. Like, how was it made possible, the coordination of this logistically, and also how were the language barriers overcome?
I'm sorry. We had another project called Intercultural Mediation, and we have four. One Roma mediator to the local Roma people that are from Braga and from Portugal. One from Senegal that speaks Portuguese, Creole, and French, and also English, and one from Brazil that is the mediator for all the South America, and also even that only Brazil speaks Portuguese, but our friend, our colleague mediator from Brazil, he also speaks Spanish. And then one from Ukraine. There is a priest, and his responsibility was the Europe, most of Europe, Romania, Ukraine, Russia, Moldova, Bulgaria. And the idea was to bring the mediators, because they were in the field, bringing people to the cafes. For instance, we have the sixth one, I think it was with East Timor. East Timor was a Portuguese colony during, I don't know how many years, until I think 1974. But they don't speak Portuguese right now. The generation that is studying in the university in Braga, they don't speak Portuguese. They speak less Portuguese than before because it was forbidden. So the idea was to bring them along and to show the city, to open the spaces and invite them to leave the city, participating in our projects and events, cultural events, sports events, and something like that. To bring people, you must have food. Someone told me, you have to organize a communities day with food from China, from the States, a big barbecue, from Portugal, from Brazil, and then we dance, we play music, we eat, we saw handcraft, we talked, and the central point was that we have Portuguese language courses through our integration plan for migrants. So the language is the focal point to get everyone together. Otherwise, it's not possible. Music is an universal language, but you cannot communicate all day singing or playing. So the idea is to bring them to the courses of Portuguese courses that allows them to go to a job appliance, to get houses, and to leave the city. So the idea is about mediation, about participation. Also, I would like to say that about voting in Portugal, a lot of people can vote. I would say most everything can vote in Portugal, because we have an agreement with Brazil, with equal politics and rights status. Everyone in Brazil and Portugal that are in this program can vote in both sides, vote and work, but also all people from the states, the member states of European Union can vote in Portugal, and also from Argentina, Chile, Iceland. I'm reading this because I don't know Norway, New Zealand, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. If they have a residence permit in Portugal for more than 3 years, they can vote. The others, they can vote if they are registered. And from United Kingdom, prior to Brexit, if they have a residence in Portugal. And Brazil and Cape Verde, they have, if they have a valid permit to live here, they are in more than 2 years, I think, they can vote equal as everyone in Portugal. Above all, I would like to say the challenge I wrote requires a lot of cooperation and, above all, political will. Right now, the global Parliament of Mayors is presided by the mayor of Braga. There is the will, but then you must achieve the goals. So I wish I had answers and formulas to get it done, to go to the global compact and achieve a creation of safe immigration routes. But the idea is also to manage the expectations of those that are running out because of absence of peace, because of wars, because of lack of conditions to live. We must have a smooth approach to the I would call it cultural shock between communities. A smooth approach with an intercultural and diversity approach should be the basis. Education, as I said before, but also, most important, expectations for those who are arriving. What are we saying to them before they come to Portugal or to Argentina or to Brazil or to Germany? What are we saying to them? You would get this, but you must give that. This would make a successful integration. Otherwise, it would be very difficult. Also, we have to combat the lack of matching between the aspirations and the proposals that these people are receiving, because someone has a degree of engineering and you are offering them to clean streets. This is very difficult to get documents from Ukraine right now, or from Afghanistan, even from Sudan. It's very, very difficult. They are in war. They are not giving papers or documents to a medic, a doctor, or an engineer, or an architect, or a professor teacher. And they come to our country, and it's very difficult to match the jobs proposals to the aspirations and the capabilities they have. Also, we have to combat the labor exploitation and the traffic in human being and other related crimes about illegal immigration. So this is a huge challenge. A lot of people are getting money with these conflicts, not only from weapons, not only from trafficking, sex trafficking, everything. So we have a huge challenge in our front. We must be united, and we must improve our partnerships.
That's very true. It is a huge challenge, and indeed to defend, uphold the rights of all these vulnerable groups who are migrating in hopes of a better future. And to this, I would like to call on to Senora Cruz, Xochitl Cruz from the city of Ciudad Juarez, to maybe brief us about your intervention in 5 minutes, because colleagues, Ciudad Juarez has developed a charter for the upholding of human rights in their city. So unfortunately, we couldn't showcase their presentation, but the colleagues are here now. So Senora Cruz. Ms. Xochitl Cruz. Okay, I think that she is having problems with her camera and microphone. So then, colleagues, we will proceed to the closing. And indeed, to address this monumental challenges that we have ahead of us, in the end, to ensure a safer mobility of migrants, refugees, stateless persons, and other vulnerable groups, even without creating silos, the vulnerable communities, which themselves are welcoming this groups. And I think that the call to local action for migrants and refugees plays a key role here. And as we go next month to the Global Refugee Forum, we are urging all the cities to submit their actions to the call to local action, whereby we will be able to showcase these practices at this fora, which will bring us one step to showcase a localization of this compacts. To answer your question, Antonio, one step closer. So I would be also calling out to you, Antonio, via email to share more about this practice for the submission of it to the call to local action. And similarly, I will be pursuing Mercedes, Javier, and Quilmes, and many other municipalities, Godoy Cruz, who are with us today for this purpose. And with that, we have reached the end of our event, our peer learning on local government actions to tackle discrimination and foster participation. Many thanks for being with us over the course of these 2 days and actively participating. Many thanks also, apart from the cities, to our friends from migrant and refugee associations who were here with us, and our CSOs, and many thanks to my colleagues, UCLG learning team, Fernando, Juan Carlos, Sara, and many thanks also to the GFMD Mayors Mechanism and our partners, Mayors Migration Council, IOM, UNHCR, and many thanks. Thank you all. Thank you to our interpreters as well. The most important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you and ciao.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Hope to see
Thank
you.
you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.